He's been waiting. He's been dying to start my class. So here it is, your chance. Dane, go ahead.
Finally, and we're live.
That's all you got? Really?
Yeah. Got me off guard.
Wow.
You
Wow. Okay, I'm leaving this intro online, and kids are going to know that I have this student that just let me write down. Oh, it's going to be my favorite student, not Dane. Good old Ann Serkey. I gave you several equations. All of these are on your formula sheet. By the way, this one here is kind of redundant. What do I mean by that? What's the delta triangle stand for? And what's change in anything? Do you remember? This is worth putting up in your brain, and I'll certainly flog this to death in Physics 12. What's change in anything always mean? It means, Darian, what? This is really A equals V final minus V initial over T. Doesn't that actually come right from there when you try and get the A by itself? Would you not minus the VI over and then divide by the T? So I would argue that first one is kind of redundant. At the same time, I don't mind giving it to you. Physics 12, I never give that one. Physics 12, what I try and do by Physics 12 is I expect you're good enough at the formula manipulation that I can pare each unit down to its component main fundamental parts, and then we can just mix and match them. And it's a nice way to do it, actually, because then you do start to, even though I say don't ever memorize stuff, you start to memorize the 2 or 3 key ones because you get tired of looking it up. That's the best way to do it. So anyways, for what it's worth, that first one is kind of redundant, but whatever. Number 1, 2 marks each. I'll show you how I give out the marks breakdown. I guess, what are they asking me to find in number 1?
Speed.
Okay, those are none of those are on my formula sheet. More specific, please. Which one? Okay, we're beyond that now. We're going V final. Okay. Which, by the way, I guess means I won't be using that equation because it doesn't have a V final in it. I can already eliminate one. Although I shouldn't cross it out because I might want to use it later for other stuff. What's that mean? Okay. Getting the hang of this. What's that 0.7? How do you know? What if they hadn't said that? What if they had simply said from rest at 0.7? How would you? Okay, it's worth memorizing what units go with what. It really does turn this into a little more plug and chug. It will get more difficult later, but Curtis, if you get the units to go with the units, it's basically substitution from Math 9 with formulas that actually mean something instead of X's and Y's that are stupid. Oh, and they told me one more thing in A. I think they said, okay. I already got the V final by itself. V final is going to be 0 plus 0.7 times 6. I think I can do this in my head. 4.2, yeah? So if you got 4.2 meters per second, you get 2 out of 2. If you forgot the units or you botched the units, I would take a half mark off. Otherwise, I would go something like this. 1 mark for that, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. How far? Hey, that sounds like they want a... I'm going to try and find D, and I'll try, if I can, Hale, and if it's not too much trouble, I'll try and avoid using V final, even though I'm 99% sure I did that right. If I can use data that they gave me, that's called being a good test writer, and there is. I could use this one, but then I'm using V final, which they gave me. Well, I could. It's going to be, oh. Why can't I do that?
Because VI is 0.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It's going to be a half A T squared. Can I do this in my head? 6 squared is 36. Half of that is 18. 0.7 times 18 is going to be 7 plus 12.6?
Yeah.
Ooh. Units? Technically 13 is correct, going to 2 sig figs. You're right. You're right. And like I've said, I'll keep harping. Who's got a sig figs test today in chem or something like that? A few you already, or have it next block? Okay, because I'm going to be going finally through the sig figs test later on today, so that'll be like a little study for you. Isn't that cool? You think I planned it that way? Didn't, but let's pretend I did, 'cause maybe I am that good. Same as before, 1 mark, half mark, half mark. Looks like in number 2, what's that? What is V initial? What's that 16 V final? Hey, Mr. Dueck, what's that 1.8? That's this was a little bit of a mini curveball. I think V final, I'm pretty sure, is 16. The problem is I can't solve this as is. What I need is that. Jeff, how many marks is this one worth? Why 3 instead of 2? I bet you there's an extra step. I mean, you guys have figured out tricks like that when you look at how many marks a question's worth to figure out how many steps are involved. Yes, if you haven't, that's your academic kids figure things out like that. I think I'm going to spend some time finding acceleration when VI is 0, and apparently when time is 7 seconds, and V final is, time is 7 seconds, Mr. Dueck. Time is 1.8 seconds. Look at units, Dueck. Shut up. 1.8 seconds, and V final is 7. Apparently, I can find the acceleration, which I can. I can use VF equals VI plus AT, but I'm running out of rooms. I'm going to cleverly write the A by itself already. It's change in velocity over time. It's 7 take away 0 divided by 1.8. My acceleration is 3.89. Darian, is that my final answer? No. So I don't care about sig figs, whatever you wrote for acceleration. In fact, I'm going to use the answer button on my calculator of 3.888888 repeating because I want to be accurate. But I would give you, if I was marking this, 1 mark if I saw the acceleration somewhere. Now I can find time. Time is going to be V final minus V initial all over A. And you'll notice I'm at the point now where I'm actually rearranging these formulas without writing down the original. You don't have to. You can plug in numbers if you want. It's worth learning this shortcut, though. It's going to be 16 minus nothing divided by 3.8 repeating. It's going to be 16, I guess minus 0 is just plain old 16, divided by answer. Do you get 4.1 seconds? 4.1 seconds. And I would give you 1 mark if I saw that, a half mark for the numbers, and a half mark for the answer. Now, if you were unable to get the acceleration, or you got that wrong, if you went 16 minus 0 divided by whatever you thought the acceleration was, I'll give you 2 out of 2 on this section. You'll get 2 out of 3. And that's something I want you to start to learn. McKinley, if you can't get part A or the beginning part of a question, if you've forgotten how, make up a reasonable value and write a note to me as the marker. Mr. Dueck, I couldn't find the acceleration. I'm going to assume it's 5 meters per second squared. Crunch the rest of it. I'll give you full marks for the second half of the question, always. Never leave a question blank, Kyle. Not a written question. Never leave it blank. Unless you totally don't know what to do, and I'll be honest, then I'll be grumpy because I don't give you surprises on tests. I tell you what's on the test, but little trick of the trade. Number 3, an aircraft starts from rest, accelerates at a constant. What's the acceleration? VI is 0, T is 12, VF is 48 meters per second. Double that, roughly 100 miles an hour. You're getting close to takeoff speed. Depends on whether it's a jet aircraft or a propeller plane. Propeller plane takes off faster than this. Sorry, slower than this. A equals V final minus V initial over T. 48 minus nothing over 12. The fact that this works out evenly tells you this is a question that Mr. Camozzi made up and that I modified one of his quizzes. The fact that the previous one worked out unevenly tells you I made it up because I'm too lazy to bother making them work out evenly. He's better at arithmetic than I am. How fast is the plane moving after... Okay, so now T is 16. They want V final. I guess we still start from rest. Oh! And I now know the acceleration is 4. I'm going to have to use an answer from part A this time. Let's see. V final equals V initial plus AT is going to be, I guess I can cross that out. It's going to be 4 times 16, 64 meters per second, yes? And oh, by the way, same as before, 1 mark for the formula, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer, 1 mark for the equation, half mark for the numbers, half mark for the answer. How far will it be after 15 seconds? Okay, T is 15. D is, I don't know. VI still 0. A still 4. Do I know V final? No, I know V final after 16 seconds, but not... Oh, I don't need it. D equals VIT plus a half AT squared, where VI is 0. It's going to be a half times 4 times 15 squared. Half of 4 is 2. 15 squared is 225, so it's going to be 225 times 2. Pretty sure 450? Yeah. Meters. You can give yourself a score out of 13 if you want at the bottom of the page, and then you can turn the page. This will be a pretty good indication of what you're going to see on the written section of your test, except I'll put some Freefall stuff because I'm nuts about Freefall. Sorry. Oh, in which case, the only difference is A is negative 9.8. Dropped, VI is 0. Thrown up, VI is not 0, but at the top, V is 0 for a split second. Is V final 0? No, not when it hits the ground. Impact velocities, well, it's negative initial if you're starting from ground. What goes up must come down. If you're on a cliff, you have to do some physics. What's the rate of acceleration of a mountain? Okay. Hey, see what I underlined? What kind of an answer am I expecting here? Negative. If I get a positive, I've goofed. So I'm anticipating being not freaked out when I get a negative, but actually, good when I get a negative. V initial is 15. V final, 10. T, 3.25. I think A equals V final minus V initial over T equals 10 minus 15 all over 3.25. 10 minus 15 divided by 3.2. Can I do this one in my head? It's going to be negative 5 divided by 3.25. Yeah, it's going to be yucky. Yeah. Negative 1.54
Yeah.
meters per second squared because it's an acceleration. Police officer traveling 16.7 meters per second, which is 60 kilometers per hour, spots a speeder ahead, so she accelerates her vehicle at a steady rate of 3.44 meters per second squared for 5 seconds, at which time she catches up with the speeder. How fast was the police car going? Okay. Question mark. I guess V initial is 16.7. A equals 3.44. T equals 5. Oh, this is plug and chug. V final equals V initial plus AT. V initial 16.7 plus A 3.44 T 5 plus 3.44 times 5. You get 33 point, oh, geez, 33.9? Didn't work out evenly, but it wasn't the yucky decimal. Oh, and I guess I would go to 3 sig figs. So what am I finding? 33.9 meters per second. Just because I'm a nerd. Yeah, about 122 kilometers an hour. I kind of wanted to know. Remember we had our shortcut, had to do with 3.6. How far does she travel? Okay. D equals, oh, how about D equals VIT plus a half A T squared. Oop, I was going to cross out the VIT. Not this time, Mr. Dueck. VI is 16.7. T is 5 plus a half 3.445 squared. Do that one in your head, Mr. Dueck? Nah. I don't think well, if you held a gun to my head, maybe I could, but it'd be awkward. Can't even type it in. Times 5 plus a half times 3.44 times 5 squared. 126.5? No? Yeah? Oh, yeah? Okay, nobody twitched. 126.5. Darian, how many sig figs technically? 3, you say? 127 meters, but I'll take 126.5. Again, as before, 1 mark for the 1 mark, half mark, half mark, 1 mark, half mark. About 5 years ago, Mr. Camozzi and I were teaching Math 12, and you know that I annotate these answer keys. And a student stole my answer key for our trig test for Mr. Camozzi's class. And the reason that we knew that he stole it was, well, there was 2 reasons. First of all, he got perfect on the multiple choice, showing no work on a pretty nasty test. But then on the written section, not only did he have all the answers, he had all these 0.5s and 1s in circles because he didn't know that that was my marking scheme because he had no idea what any of it meant. So he'd written where I put all the part marks, he'd put that on his answer key thinking that's had to be there as part of the answers. And conveniently, when Mr. Camozzi had photocopied his test, 2 pages had been flip-flopped. So this kid had all of the answers for page 3 on page 4 perfectly, and all of the answers for page 4 on page 3 perfectly. So anyways, he sucked at cheating, thankfully, which is, good. I'd forgotten that. I just remember that now. Yeah. Hey, what are they asking me to find on number 6? So, are we slowing down or speeding up? I better get a negative. Okay, I'm anticipating that. A equals question mark. V initial is 20, right? Emma, what's V final? Yes. Learning the physics words, right? And I guess D is 5.7. This is one of the more complicated equations. I'll write it out initially here. Oh, really, Mr. Dueck? Equals plus, good gosh, VF squared equals VI squared plus 2AD. This is the one I'm going to be using. Getting the A by itself, I think I would minus this to that side and then divide by 2D. I think A is going to be VF squared minus VI squared divided by 2D. 0 minus 20 squared divided by 2 times 5.7. Mr. Dueck, why didn't you go 0 squared? Because what is 0 squared? Just plain old, it's kind of a redundant. fine. I can see some of you saying, Mr. Dueck, but I'm not typing it. 0 minus 20 squared divided by bracket 2 times 5.7. Do you get negative 35.1? Is it 3 sig? Well, negative 35.1, and I guess I'd go to 2 sig figs because of that 5.7, negative 35 meters per second squared. Same as before, 1 mark for that, half mark for that, half mark for the answer. Can you give yourself a nice clear score out of, count 'em, 21? Make sure you put it there, and if you need to lawyer with me, now is the time. Today we're going to be temporarily pressing pause in that I'm not going to be showing you anything new. Last day, we finished off lesson 7. We did more Freefall examples. And what I gave you was this sheet called Solving Acceleration Problems. I said you could try the front page. That was sort of unofficially your homework for the long weekend. But what I really said is get the quiz done, because I don't like giving out homework over a long weekend, if I can, especially a 4-day weekend, if I can avoid it. So part of the homework today that you're going to work on is then the back page, acceleration and free fall. And again, for this here, yeah, I did do scrambled answers along the bottom here. Some of these are tricky, especially this graph question. I'll probably talk quite a bit about number 9. Well, can you all first of all find this sheet that said solving acceleration problems? If you handed it in, go grab it, but I think I told you to do it on some piece of paper anyway, so you should have the sheet still. I hope. Take a look at number 9 on the free fall section. Okay. Find this little graph here. It says, this is a graph of a velocity of a ball thrown straight up by a strong pitcher or baseball player as a function of time. In the first part of the graph, ending at A, the ball is accelerated to 39.2 in a time of 0.2 seconds. That's the throw. Okay? Why is this first part of the graph right here uphill, and then this part of the graph here downhill? Instead of downhill and uphill, let's think slope. What is this graph? What's on the y-axis, Shaq? What's on the x-axis? You got to look kind of close, but it's there. Time. What is the slope of a velocity versus time graph? Acceleration. So I'll ask you the same question. Why is this section positive acceleration? Isn't that right? And why is this long section here? Why is this long section here negative acceleration? Rob, tell me that first little tiny chunk. What's that? Okay, that's throwing it up, and I guess if you're throwing something up, you have to be accelerating the ball up. What happens right at location A? Opens his hand. As soon as it leaves his hand, even though it's traveling up, which way is it accelerating? I can even tell you what it's accelerating down at. Probably negative 9.8. I think it'll be negative. It'll either be negative 9.8 or we might have rounded off and cooked the numbers. It might be negative 10 because it's hard to get that. I can't remember. Okay. What happens right there? Tawny, for a split second, what's the velocity right there? Where is the velocity 0, Tawny? At the top. Ah, that's when it gets to the top. Yes? What happens right here? It's coming back. Well, it's coming back. Here is where it starts to come back. There's at the top. It's coming back down, coming back down. What happens right at location C? Why does the acceleration, the slope, why does it change so dramatically? Now, when you catch it, which way is the ball now this is really for you. Which way is the ball traveling when it hits your hand? So to bring it to a stop, which way must you accelerate it? Do you see it? Do you see it? You have to accelerate it up. I don't know if you've thought about this, if you've ever played catch. But when you bring it to a stop, you are accelerating it up. And have you ever played catch with an egg? Okay, you've done that before with a raw egg, right? How do you play catch with a raw egg? How do you catch it? What do you do? Okay, what you want to do, Shaq, here's what you want to do. You want to increase the time as much as you can, because if instead of being from 8.2 to 8.4, 0.2 seconds, if you make it longer, that means this line, instead of going near vertical, would go like that, which means less acceleration. It's not the velocity that breaks an egg, it's the acceleration that breaks an egg. And an egg can handle a certain amount of acceleration, but not more. You cradle it, right? What you're trying to do is lengthen the time of catch to lower the acceleration. Or you can think about it this way, Jeff. Acceleration is v final minus v initial over t. The bigger you can make that, hey, if you can make it last twice as long, how big is your acceleration if you divide by a number that's twice as big? What happens to the a? It gets half as big. Okay. So that's helping you kind of interpret that graph. So what you can work on as part of your homework then, is going to be mostly a work period, is this whole thing. You can do them on 2 separate sheets. So one sheet called Solving Acceleration Problems, and then on a separate piece of paper, Acceleration and Freefall. You can staple them together if you really want to as well. Heck, you can put them on the same sheet. Just make sure I catch it. Make sure there's some kind of a heading there. And I also have for you, I think I have for you yet another take-home quiz, but let me double check. Yeah, this is a short quiz. This one has Freefall and stuff. So let me hand it out.